Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Burger. I'm Caroline Romo, the Executive Director of the New Mexico Beef Council. I'm here in Fort Sumner, or outside of Fort Sumner, New Mexico, with the Lees and Corteses. We've got Kayla to my left, Taylor, Luke, and Donna. Thank you guys so much for having me and for being willing to be on the podcast. You guys want to start with introducing yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Luke Cortese. This is my wife, Donna. We have 3 kids. Jordan, he's 19. Joe is 15. And Marianne, a.k.a. Mare, is 9 years old. We partner with Taylor and Kayla on a lot of the things that we do. And we ranch here in New Mexico, and we do what we love.
Yep. And my name's Taylor. Lee, this is my wife, Kayla. We have 2 kids, Audrey and Carson. They're 4, fixing to be 5, and 2, so that's been fun. So I grew up in Texaco, farming for my granddad and my uncle. And, when we first started, I was a little kid, and we'd start, everything back then was for grain. We'd cut corn and wheat for grain, grow cotton. And then as my uncle kind of diversified, he got into the dairy side and switched up. Everything went for silage at that point. So that was kind of a change. And then as I got older, I just loved farming. Never at that point in my life, I wasn't raising cattle, wasn't running cattle or anything, but always wanted to get into it. So as time went on, went to study at college and studied ag finance there, got my degree, went in intern at Farm Credit, and then I got a job at Ag New Mexico after college, and there I was a credit analyst, turned into a loan officer, and then I realized I loved what I did there. The people that taught me there, I'm forever grateful for what they've taught me. Use a lot of what they did teach me in today's operation, but I just realized being outside is kind of where I was called to be. So went back to farming, and then started back with my uncle. We changed the farm to being organic, so that was a whole deal. Went from conventional to organic, started cutting stuff for grain. That's when corn and wheat would go back to Hereford Tucumcari, and they'd make tortilla chips and flour, and so that was really cool. And then Kayla and I started wanting to run wheat cattle, and so we started running a few, and then we would send them to a conditioning yard here in Fort Sumner, and that's where we got to meet Luke. And we started in 2017, the wheat. But we had met before then. Luke would get our trucks and whatever we needed. Any questions I had, Luke would answer, and our friendship just really kicked off from there. And I like to talk on the phone. Luke likes to talk on the phone. So, and just our friendship grew. And then we're like, man, let's start doing more of this together. And love Donna and love the kids. I got to, when Joe, the age that Marianne's at now, that's what Joe's age was. And now he's like 7 foot tall. Team ropes, like you would never believe. He's on the little Von Jordan. He was a great kid and loved them. So yeah, that's kind of how we got started on all that.
So my family has operated the feed store here in Fort Sumner since the 40s. And my great-great-granddad had the feed store. They showed up in Fort Sumner, broke, and their family worked, and he had drive like you wouldn't believe, putting stuff together. And I always think back on what was it, they gave him that drive of he had 15 trucks and a feed store and an ice house and ranches. Everybody liked him, but it was, coming from nothing. And he truly did it. There was people that believed in him. And then my dad, the same way, he had the feed store and operated it for 30 years, plus years probably. And we learned a lot of hard work. I learned what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do. There's people today that we do business with still, and we're the 4th generation, and that my granddad did business with their great granddad. And so that's one thing that I'm really proud of in what we do, is that not only did we do business with, my great-granddad did business with their great-granddad, and then my granddad did business with their granddad, and my dad did business with their dad, and then I'm doing business with them. Me and Donna, we met in high school when we were in kindergarten. She had 2 buck teeth, and I just fell in love with her. Took a long time to get her to fall in love with me, but we've dated ever since we were 15. We were high school sweethearts. Everything we do together, and it's a family operation. Me and Donna and Taylor and his family. Donna was a registered nurse and worked 10 years as a registered nurse, and she come home and we made the decision that if we're going to do something, we're going to do it together. And we threw away our insurance and our weekly paycheck, and God has put it all together and took care of us and made it to where we are today. We grew. Everything we got was something that we worked for, and that we grew, and a lot of people entrusted in us and believed in us, and we've done a lot of different things and a lot of cool things. I got to see a lot of neat stuff together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it says a lot about, I think, not just the industry, but your family and the kind of people you are, that you have those generational relationships, that you have this family business, that you guys as couples can come together and have a business. And that's kind of the whole goal of the podcast, right? I know, and I believe that the people of our industry are wonderful. We want consumers to know that, right? That we're not the bad guys. We're the good guys, and you guys are the good guys. You guys are making sacrifices and making this family thing. And how neat is it? You don't hear about that every day, about multi-generational and family businesses, right? A lot of times we show up at a restaurant that's a corporate owned, or you show up at things, you buy, products that are, who knows who even owns them. Some company owns a company that owns them or whatever. And it's just an important story that I appreciate you guys being willing to tell. So tell me about your guys' operation together and the partnership. You kind of already started with how it started and all of that.
So in 2017, we're always looking for wheat, and we built a friendship with Taylor and his family, and he was farming and had wheat in Clovis and found some wheat, and we were able to partner on cattle together and run some cattle on some wheat that he had and some wheat that I had, and it just made sense that we all worked together. And later in years, we see the value of being a partner, and being a partner with someone like with the same goals, and that we all work for the same thing. There's a lot of times that we work and it might not be the exact way somebody wants, but we get it done. And that at the end, I have his best interest and he has ours as well. When cattle have probably doubled at least twice since we started.
Yeah.
I can remember, kind of back in there, we could buy a stalker for $700.
Yeah.
And now it's $2,800.
Yeah.
So it has, doubled twice. So 700 to 14 to 28. And so now in a short time, because of that, it takes equity to get money. And, so let's say that we find a farm that would run 1,000 head, that would be 2.8 million, just initial investment. And, so you go from 1.4 to 2.8, it would take his equity and mine to be able to do that. Otherwise, we would be working for some great big cattle guy that runs, and we believe in the small town. We also believe if me and Donna are going to do something, we want to be the one hands-on. We've done a lot of things where we've allowed other people to be in control of, and if you look back, every time that we got in trouble, it was because of that, or we sent cattle to somebody. And this way, with Taylor being in Clovis, he can look over that operation, and me here, I can look over this operation, and that we both want our kids and our family. And you know, a lot of people say that their wives or their kids help, but I can guarantee you that every single day we work together as a family. And you know, there'll be times in the year where we're getting cattle in, and it might just be me and Donna, you know, get 3 loads of cattle in, and we just set a pace and we brand, no one else shows up. Or me and Taylor, or Taylor and Kayla, or a lot of times me, Donna, Taylor, Kayla, or, you know, we might schedule it for the weekend that we work cattle or move cattle, and the boys. Earlier in the partnership, we homeschooled our kids, and so it was pretty much free labor every day.
Yeah.
You know, we could show up, me and Donna and 2 kids and Taylor, and we could get pretty much everything done that we needed to get done. But we've grown the partnership. There's been a lot of people that have opened up to us and entrusted their ranch with us. There's guys that have leased us their farms. When we started, we would go, you know, and we would find weed or something. We went all over the country. We brownfield, level in, Guyman, Oklahoma, all, and you know, I can remember every other day picking Taylor up at 3 o'clock in the morning at Clovis and driving to
Wherever
it was. Yeah. And working all day. And at that time, you know, there might have been 3 of us together, and me and Taylor would go look at 5,000 head of cattle and the boys, and we would come in, and it'd be late that night, come in, and then the next morning be at Clovis looking at cattle. And there was it still is a lot of long hours, a lot of hard work. But, you know, to have a partner that's willing to put in the time just like you are is huge. And I always say, you never know who your partner's with until you get in a wreck.
Yep.
And whenever you're getting cattle in, or you're in any sort of agriculture industry, you're gonna get out of one wreck right into the other. And to really see who your partner's with, or who their wives are, or who their kids are, or that everybody's true colors will come out. And we see a lot of partnerships dissolve because of that. You know, everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to, but you know, in the end, you can't win every time you show up.
Yep. And I think everybody wants to partner with somebody. Like Luke said, you just, there's so many more opportunities that are opened up from a finance standpoint, you know. But like Luke said, you figure out, you know, you're going to have tough times, and you're going to have to get through it. And yeah, you need to have someone there by your side that believes in you, believes in the decisions that you make, because ultimately decisions Luke makes affects my family. Decisions I make affects their family. And yeah, so.
You know, when we got started, we would show up to lease somebody's wheat, and there was only one way that we could get it. And, you know, we had to do something more than the guy before, or, you know, something happened, or like maybe the guy that had it before, he gave it away, or, you know, gave it back. So there was a bunch of things that we sat down, me and Taylor talked probably 10 times a day on the phone, and analyze and go through things. And we come up, you know, because Taylor farms, we came up with a system whenever we do wheat that's fair for both sides.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we stand for is everybody has to make money, and it has to be fair both ways. And there's been times we did things that because our name means something, and that we have a backbone. One of my favorite sayings is, you got to have your word and your balls. And that I tell my kids that every time, and you need to keep all of them. But if you tell somebody what it is, I mean, you have to, even if you work for free for 2 years, I mean, we've done that too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, get into a spot where you got cattle turned out and get in a wreck or or the cattle don't gain or market changes or, but you spoke one way and you have to make sure that you do it, or you turn cattle out and you have a death loss that you didn't think that you were going to have. And, most people, the death loss a farmer pays if it's on the gain. And we do a deal where we subtract if one's dead, it comes off the weight going in. And it's just a lot more fair for the farmer.
Yeah.
And it just makes more sense. And a lot of times when we leave a place, and the farmer gets their check, they'll look at it and they'll look at us and look at it. But that's one of the ways that, we've been able to succeed in the wheat and grow. And, Taylor's to the point now that he's farming enough, and some leases that we started with on wheat that, we've been able to get almost all we want.
Yeah.
Plus just taking care of what Taylor has and a few of the leases that we started with.
Yeah. And before we have a grow yard there in Texaco now. And before that, man, we would have different people, like Luke said, starting our calves for us, and South Texas, in New Mexico, everywhere, just trying to find a place to get them in, to get them conditioned to come to wheat. And so we weren't able to be there from the start. You don't ever really know what exactly goes into them. So we didn't even have pins to come back to like, hey, let's put these cattle on a hot wire, get them, hot wire broke, and then we'll go turn out, or let's see what these cattle really look like. So there's a lot of times we get cattle in out of South Texas, and like we would, we'd buy them, they'd be down there for 45 or 60 days, and when they came off the truck, that was the first time we were seeing them turning out on wheat.
Or turned out fresh.
Yeah, turned out fresh. Yeah, I don't have a place to go with them, just turn them out and go to the doctor.
They branded them and banded them, luckily, so they were slower.
Yeah.
But come right off the truck on a hot wire.
Yep.
And, unload 5 loads.
Yeah.
And you better buckle up.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think there might be some terms in there that I might have to help with our listeners. So hot wire is that hot fence, right?
Yeah.
And if they've never seen that, what's that like?
Yeah.
They just run through it, or do
want.
Yes,
yeah, is that okay to talk about?
So right now, since then we have the ranch, and let's say that we get a load of calves in. There's 6 traps right here where we live, and I can turn calves out, and I can open the gate, and they're not going to run through the fence. A hot wire, a calf doesn't see it, and they come off the truck, and they've been on the truck for 12 hours, and it's like that daylight. They wake up, and they hit that wheat pasture, ready to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And you got to turn them and hold them up, and it's a joke. We say that we're burning them in. You got to get them around, and you take them around to the whole fence. And
Joe would be 9 years old, as fast as you could go, trying to get cattle turned.
Yeah, turn them.
Yeah.
So it was me and Taylor and Donna and Jordan was probably 12, and Joe was 9. And there was a lot of days we unloaded cattle, and we get about halfway done, on the 3rd truck, and we'd have to tell the truck driver, put your gate down a minute. We got to get a hold of these because they are running off.
They did not know what a hot wire was.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a very interesting part that maybe we haven't talked about on the podcast too. And even you said trap, and I think a lot of our listeners are truly ranchers. We hope it's not just ranchers, but that trap is just a smaller pasture, right? Yeah. We're not trapping cattle. Right.
Yeah.
Just a smaller pasture that's called a trap that you get them into the smaller area so that it's easier to move them the next day or whatever, like you're saying. And they have those fences, and normal fences are a barbed wire, right, with like 3 or 4 strands, right? 5 strands.
4
okay.
or 5 strands.
That you can see, or that cattle could see. Right. But then when you move to the hot wire, is it just one?
Yeah, it's one little
wire. And really tiny. It's not barbed wire. It's not that thick twist.
It'll shock them whenever they touch them.
Yeah, that even we wouldn't see necessarily if we were walking through and we weren't familiar, right?
Yeah.
Well, I just always want to make sure and try and do my best to define some of the terms. Not that I necessarily know. I need you guys to tell me, but.
Yep.
And one thing too, God's opened all these doors for us, and you know, coming from a time when we didn't have the ranch leased and all that, and that door was open to come and lease it, we'd get these calves in, and every day Luke is very intense, very like, this is how we're going to do it, and it's the right way, and that's how it's going to be. It might
not be the right way, but that's...
Yeah, well,
we're
it
gonna
is,
do it.
in
Yep.
my eyes, it's 100% the right way. But it, yeah, so every morning these calves, you know, we, like Luke said, there's 6 traps. Every morning they get all pushed into water. They all get hand fed. They all get looked at. It ain't just, oh, let's just cruise through them on a 4-wheeler real quick and see if there's any sick. No, we're all going to get a count. You know, when back at the grow yard, it's easier. You know, they're at a bunk. You just, you know, yeah, hand feed them and have some good hay out for them.
Yep.
Yeah, it's work every day to start fresh calves like that. Yeah.
That attention to detail is
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
that I admire, right? That you're constantly looking to see if anything's wrong, and then even pushing them to water, right? That was something that we were talking about recently, is that if you put them in a new pasture, the first thing you do is take them, show them the water, because cattle are smart,
Yeah.
but you got to show them where the water is, because they're not, you know, they're not all knowing.
Yeah.
So, here's a fun question. What's the most rewarding part of being in this industry?
I think just the responsibility that we take on every day. Get to grow a product. You know, now that we have a fall set of cows that calve in the fall, and then a spring set, and so we get to raise a baby calf, and you know, they stay with their mom, and then we go to wheat when we wean them, and then go to the feedlot with them, and so it's neat to grow a product. Start to finish, and just the pressure is a good kind of pressure, but to have, you know, other people relying on you, the decisions you make, it's a good pressure, and just the responsibility of having a product come to market.
I would think being able to work with my family every day, you know, through the good and the bad.
Yeah.
I can remember, you know, I drove a truck for a lot of years, and I can remember having to go 1,000 miles a day. Every day we hauled cattle, and, you know, waking up and having to be away from my family. And not only that, being so tired you can't go anymore and have another 1,000 miles to go. And, you know, I know what I don't want to do, and it isn't that I didn't enjoy that. It's just that there was a time that my family needed me, and to be able to come home and do it together, and watch my kids and my wife struggle, and then get through them struggles together, and work through it as a team, and being with good people, waking up every morning doing what you love, and not having to work a day in your life. And like another deal is, people say, well, how do you do it, right? We would do it for free. Yeah. Like, that's how much we enjoy it. As long as we break even, we're happy. Mm-hmm. And or if we lose our butt, you know, we look at the big picture and say, okay, we lost it here, but we'll gain it here. Yeah. What about you, Donna?
I like, there's so many aspects of it. I like Taylor said, like being able to see, like raising your own bulls, seeing them all the way through, and then them happy and just carrying it on. And I think that
Seeing life.
Yeah, just seeing life. And there's never a dull moment.
Yeah.
There's so many hats like we all wear, from feeding, trucking to gathering. Like, it's never dull. And I like working with family and having Taylor and Kayla, and I like all of it.
And so, like, Donna will go and feed, you know, and seeing her, she'll feed 500 or 600 cows in a day. And, you know, now with cell phones, you know, she can pick up a cell phone and FaceTime me, or like, you know, calving heifers, and we'll talk 10 or 15 or 20 times a day. And,
like the other day feeding, I could see one's about to calve. So you see it in the morning, then you go about your day, and then later on, like, yeah, Luke, I think you need to come over here. And so, like, we'll get done
but
feeding,
working
and then
together
we
as
pull
a team. Like, there's a true partnership, you all work together as one. And, you know, a family, a wife, husband and wife, and a partner's a lot like your wife. And everybody works together for the same goal. And like going and feeding and seeing new life every day. Or going and whenever you wean or whenever you brand and you see that all of the hard work of the product of everything being the same size. Or like I set goals that nobody even knows, but it's something that I strive for every day. And if it means something to you, you don't have to write it down, you know it. And being able to show up and brand and every single one of your calves being the same size, having all of your cows are in good shape. You turn your bulls out and your cows get bred within, you know, a 60-day calving period. And I mean, being able to set a goal that you can do and that you can reach, and short-term goals and long-term goals, and being able to do that together as a family. That's what makes me get up every single day and want to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's special and it's visible, right? We keep talking about that's visible. You see the fruits of your labor. And you sort of mentioned technology, and I was just curious, like you said, you can FaceTime and all of that. Today in 2026, how much technology do you guys use?
So we have cameras set up, and you know, that's one form to see wildlife. I love watching wildlife. I love taking pictures of wildlife. But also, like, let's say that there's a tank on the far back side of the ranch and it takes you 2 hours to get there. You could buy there's a lot of things out there, or you can buy a camera that costs $10 a month, and every 24 hours it takes a picture. And let's say it's in the summertime, you know, you got green grass and you don't really have a reason to be back there. You know, just a wear and tear. Cell phones are big. We all have like track to where we kind of know where each other is if something happens.
Yeah.
What else?
There's technology on the scales for the feed truck.
Yeah.
And that's Bluetooth to Taylor's phone as we're loading different commodities into the feed truck. It's like live updating the ration to meet with whatever, you know, we've agreed on to feed that cattle the ration. Taylor's got a drone. That's his that's Taylor's favorite new technology. Tell him about your drone for farming and for cattle.
No, we've used it. Check water gaps, check tanks when it comes in and snows, and you can't even get down the roads because it blew drift so big.
Tell them about the calf that you knew that had.
We had some cows that were calving, and there was a cow that I knew she'd had a calf, but I drove and could not find this calf. And anyways, flew that drone out there, and it has an infrared camera on it, and so we were able to find it and use it for that.
Wow. Use it for sprinklers. Used it to go see.
Check sprinklers. Or like
it's a luxury.
Make sure you don't have cattle out at night, or whenever you do have cattle out at night, because that's inevitable. You know, you can at least make sure, hey, this ain't as big of a wreck as I thought, or no, everybody needs to be here. You know, so that's been fun. Yeah,
I think one of the biggest is cell phones, videos, FaceTime.
Everybody's got to have an iPhone. Got to be able to FaceTime.
I can take a video of something and send it to Luke and be like, hey, what do you think?
Or when even Donna does all the bookkeeping, all the billing, all of that, and like just send pictures. Hey, is this right? Is this good to pay? Did we already pay this? You know, like
we're all on group text together. You know, we
communicate
all of the bills that come in, you know, or when we're paying leases, you know, we send a picture, hey, look this over, call me. You know, if you're
cattle here to there.
If you're looking at wheat, you know, we're like, hey, send me a video. Let's see if there's enough wheat there. Being able to look at a situation and be like, we're in trouble, or nope, we got another couple of weeks.
If Taylor's gone, he's having me and the kids video the bucks to see how much feed's gone. Stuff like that.
Another way the kids can be involved. They do know how to use iPhones as much as we try not to, right? Our daughter's 4.
Pictures on my phone all the time.
Yeah, that's great. That's really special. And I'm grateful for a time where we have technology. I know sometimes it's the worst, but it's also the best, right? Technology. how do New Mexico's landscapes and climate shape the way you ranch? I know you guys mentioned checking waters when it's hot, and you mentioned snow. So
Yeah.
talk about the landscape.
New Mexico weather will humble you very, very fast. No, just droughts, wind, snow. It makes it tough, and how we run things, we're not just thinking about, hey, what do we got to do next week? We're like, hey, this fall, are we going to have room to run these, or where are we going to move the cows at for calving, and or wheat? Some years, like last year, it was a great wheat year, and you couldn't keep the wheat from growing. And then this year, it's a different story. And rained in 3 or 4 months, and the wind's been blowing 40. So it's got its challenges for sure. Yeah.
So I think that New Mexico there's highs and lows in the drought, and it seems like you go out of one drought into the next drought, and but our average rainfall's 13 or 14 inches. If it hits right, you can grow a lot of grass. If it doesn't,
timely.
Yep. We do things a little different because we run yearlings or stalkers, and we're in a bunch of different markets. We will try to stock a ranch like 60%, 50%, and then at any time when it rains, we can stock it with yearlings, and then we can be off the ranch during the growing season. So let's say, let's just use this year for a scenario. It hasn't rained, so we're probably not going to run any grass cattle until it does rain. And so we're able to spread our cattle out. We can go through, say, a 2-year drought. And then if it does rain, on the other hand, let's say like last year, it started raining. We were able to wean our own calves, and we ran them on here. And we needed cattle for wheat, so they went on to wheat. We were able to wean all of the calves that go to wheat here. We're able to run a set of yearlings all summer on the ranch. And then not only that is that, with the pens and everything that's set up here and in Texaco, we're able to get a set of cattle in, sort them, and go back to wheat with them, sell the big end. So, because of the way the landscape is, or the way New Mexico is, it's created us to do all of this differently and see it differently. So, we are in a drought. We still have plenty of grass, old grass from last year, because we saved it. We try to rest a pasture or two, every few years during the growing season, be completely out of it. And, by the end of the 5 years, every pasture's been hadn't had cattle in it, at least through 2 growing seasons. And being able to look at things from a different perspective, and being able to be diverse, or like we have a set of older cows that are, they're getting thin. It hadn't rained. We've been feeding them a bunch, and we're going to get them branded and probably wean the calves when they weigh 300 pounds. I can remember, a long time ago when we were ranching, and it was dry, like in 2011 or 10, and the calves weighed 300 or 400, and I said, let's wean them. And I was partners with my dad, and we were afraid to wean them. Today, if it's dry, we're going to wean them. We're going to save our cows. We're going to save the ranch. There's a lot of people that see ranches a different way when they lease them, and they'll lease them, and the way they see it is that they want the cow on there as long as they can, and they want the calf on there as long as they can. So when it's all said and done, they've had 2 animals on this ranch for the whole year. And then they wean the calf, and the cows start calving again. And it's only good for them. It isn't good for the ranch. And we do it the other way. When we show up, we want, when we leave the ranch, to be in better shape than we got there. We want, when our neighbors look over the fence, they look and be like, how in the heck does he have so much grass? And then, like, how in the world did all of these cattle trucks come in here, and then they're coming out of here, and he's still got more grass than we do? And I think it's all about timing.
Yeah.
And your every situation's unique, or, you know, let's say it gets really, really bad. We got a grow yard. We'll pull the cattle out, go to the grow yard. Like right now on wheat, we're completely off the wheat. The grow yard's full, and we're giving the wheat a drink to where we'll have enough wheat to get our heifers bred. And before that we couldn't do it because we didn't have a grow yard, we didn't have a ranch, we didn't have all of these things. But that all goes with the long goal, is that, you know, we're thinking 24/7 of how to make it better, and how are we going to outlast the guy that's trying to come in behind us, trying to lease a ranch out from underneath us. What is it that we can do better, that gives us the edge to where people want us to lease their ranch? You know, there's a lot of older people. Most people that own ranches are you know, in their 60s and 70s, 80s, and you know, they are looking for someone to come in and that will keep the heritage going. But not only that, is that when they come and see, they can see all the progress of how good their ranch looks.
Yep. There was a lot of years that when we first started running cattle that, you know, if we ran short on wheat or something like that, like we didn't have a place to come back, or we'd have to send them to the feed yard or something, and it might not be the most ideal, depending on what the market is doing. And so there's a lot of times like we just had to, you know, sell them. We just had to call someone and get them sold, and you know,
Take our loss.
Yeah, take our loss and move on to the next set. And so now, like I said, God's blessed us with a lot of opportunities and been able to grow. And it's almost like now we're getting more, you know, piece of the puzzle put together, and just, you know, allows us to times, you know, something that we always chase is just gives you more opportunities. Yeah.
What about
Good.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I think a priority for everybody is good stewardship.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
we know that nothing is truly ours. It's been given to us by the Lord, and especially with cattle and land, like, you want to be good stewards of that.
Yeah.
And you know, healthy cattle, low stress cattle do well, and we treat the animals well and treat the land well, and that pays back and is a blessing, and we do right by people. And like when we got the ranch, Luke had a list and Taylor had a list, and they went and hit the ground running. Like day one, it was massive improvements, documenting it all, graded all the roads, fixed all the water lines, fixed all the drinkers, fixed all the fences. Like, and we didn't have to do that, you know, like nobody was making you do that. You know, it was,
we just,
you know, this is something we were given and entrusted to have. And so there was going to improve upon it and be good stewards of it.
I think too, it wasn't that the ranch is in bad shape or anything. It's that our standard is, is,
I want to take care of it.
yes, is high, or there's something, you know, if I see something wrong in my mind, we're going to fix it. And it ain't going to go a day, or it ain't going to go a week, or, but
we had,
what about, you know, the winters here, most of the time are mild, but, you know, it can be bad. And, you know, you have to go out and break ice every day for your cattle. You have to, you know, if that takes riding a horse with an axe to get out there, you know, we have four-wheelers or Rangers. We might be running Rangers and it's below temperatures. You know, we're gathering cattle in the storms. We're moving cattle. If water lines get froze up and there's a dirt tank, you can bet your butt we're in the dirt tank breaking the ice so that they could have something to drink. Two things they have to have, three things: drink, they have to drink, they have to eat, and they have to have air. And whatever that takes, you know, whether it's a 20-hour day or a 2-hour day, we're gonna do our best to do that. But there's some people from Oklahoma that have come to New Mexico, and they're building fence, and they're hard workers and good guys, but they don't know about the New Mexico wind. And you know, it'll blow 30 mile an hour 7 days a week. There's another saying, a guy told me, I would ask him, when's it going to rain? And he'd say, when the wind would quit blowing. Well, when's the wind going to quit blowing? When it rains. And, we're in that pattern right now with the wind blowing every day. And they've showed up, and boy, they come in and their faces are beat up from the sand and the New Mexico landscape or the wind or the weather. And if you ain't tough, it'll get you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and I always get a lot of questions, especially when we go to, as other state beef councils, we meet together a lot to try and learn from each other and improve. And it's a really great resource. And a lot of people, I think, assume New Mexico, they picture the Wild West, they picture Arizona weather, they picture South Texas weather. Yeah. Well, New Mexico, I mean, we're at a higher elevation here, right? What's Fort Sumner's
4,060.
Yeah, 4,000, and then I live in Albuquerque. Our office there. We're the other mile-high city. Well, that means you call it a mild winter, but it's not an Arizona winter, right? And it's not a it's a
Texas winter.
Yeah, it's a true winter, right? You have days of 0. You have many days below freezing, and like you said, that breaking ice and all of that. So I always want to clarify, and actually a lot of our listeners are from other states too, and so New Mexico has a true winter. We call it mild, but that's just because you're tougher than heck, right? Like that's because you've grown up and you have that. And I do love the sayings about the wind, and we always say you just got to be tough enough to deal with New Mexico wind to live here, right?
Yeah.
So no, it's really great to talk about, and I did want to clarify that you call it mild, but it's a true winter, right?
And something else I want to add, there's a science behind how you graze your ranch, which probably not a lot of people know. And Luke is very, very good at this, but where you put your mineral, where you feed your cows, like we got a spot that there's a creek that runs right through the middle of it. You could show up every day and feed only at the drinkers on one side, and they'll never cross the creek.
How you position your roads.
Yeah. Yep. And Luke's very, very good about. It's essentially rotational grazing.
How you enter your feed truck into the pasture.
Yeah.
Which will call the cattle to that side.
Yeah, where you start honking your horn at. It's rotational grazing without running tons of fences through your place, And so through these years that we're kind of right now where it's dry and hadn't really grown much grass, we're able to. There's a science behind it, I guess is what I'm saying. And
we had a blade and a loader worked for a month, to get to where we could cross the creek and get to the backside, and it wasn't. I mean, the roads there was a few spots they were washed out, but now it's. We can really get back there fast, and we can, get around and make the cattle, if we just go one way all the time, they're going to be waiting there at that spot entrance. The cows are going to know they're going to get fed there. And so if you're able to go to where you come in through the very back, it's going to allow the cows to start working another spot. And there might, there's grass knee high there. And,
for 'em.
Yes. Yep.
And the easiest thing to do and that is just, hey, let's just pull in the gate and feed these cows and let's move on to the next thing. But it's going to take more time. It's going to take more work to do that. But Luke's real good about figuring out, hey, probably should move off this pasture soon. Hey, we got this extra grass. Let's move here.
And like there's products like blocks. So we might put protein blocks on one side of the pasture, which would hold them to that side of the pasture, molasses, or there's a lot of different products out there that you can use also to help utilize that.
Yeah.
And knowing and seeing and being able to the 7 worst words in agriculture is this is the way we always get it. 8 worse. And being able to think outside the box and do different things.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that we try to do. And then, if it doesn't work, you go back to the way it is or...
always adjusting.
Yeah, you're always
Y'all are
adjusting.
very good at that.
Yeah.
Like there's always a conversation. Honestly, like
Every
you
day.
said, it's 10 calls a day.
Yeah.
And every conversation is retrospective, analyzing what you did, what worked, didn't work. Egos are checked at the door. Like they have zero ego. They're just trying to grow and be better. And
Be successful.
that takes a lot of self-analysis to
Yeah.
Yep.
to be wanting to grow and willing to grow and trial and error and change and pivot.
Yeah, and it takes a highly evolved human too to be able to understand that we have to think. You have to think about 10 years down the road,
Yeah.
and yesterday, and tomorrow, and all of these things,
Yep.
and be a range scientist, right? A lot of times, you assume we want to be a rancher because we want to be a cowboy. Well, you also got to be a range scientist. You also have to be a bookkeeper. You also have to do, be a farmer and all this, and a grass farmer even, and all these things that it's complicated. And the science of grazing and the science of all of that is beyond my understanding. But what I do know is I did explain to someone in Santa Fe, they didn't understand that that you are reliant on a ranch in a grassland situation. You're reliant on natural rain, and you're reliant on natural grasses that come in there in the soil, right? And you guys have both, right? You have the farming side and the wheat where you can water it probably on pivots, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you also have the ranching side. So it's all this complications and all these things that we hope that consumers learn from the podcast, and that the best thing we can do is put the story out there, right?
Yeah.
And try and show how complicated it is.
And sorry.
No, that's good.
Another story that comes to mind too is there's a little steer trap up here by Luke's house, and it not a real big trap, but we utilized it a ton to wean like little 200, 300 pound calves, and it had grown up in weeds before we got here. And Luke's like, man, if we turn out when those weeds are coming in right before it starts raining, really knock those weeds down and let that grass come back. Now that little trap's beautiful. I mean, and we hit it right. Luckily it rained a bunch last year, but it grazed all them weeds down and let the grass grow up in between. And so just practices like that I don't think people know. Like, it ain't just like you just unload your truck and then, check water a few times a week
so
and you're
much
good.
science
Yeah, there's a lot.
into like on the farming side, your profiles, your depths, your rainfall, there's a lot of agronomy involved, and it's not just, I think, to the lay person who's not in the ag world, it just seems like people are podunk people, and they just put their stuff out, but there's so much science involved in all of it, and so much strategic planning and analysis, and it's very involved and very complicated, and you have to be strategic. You can't be passive with it.
Absolutely strategic and scientific, and absolutely. I'm ever impressed and ever grateful that there's people willing to do that, right? Because it's hard, right? So maybe talk about the cattle. You guys have already talked a little bit, but just specifically ways that you take care of your cattle to ensure their health and well-being. People love to know that we care about our cows, right?
So our cattle get checked every other day. One of the things that we do, we feel that we've seen where using a live virus vaccine has helped when you wean. It just gives you more protection. So when we got here, we put all of the cows on a live virus. What we feed, when we feed, how we feed, it's our job. If we don't have to doctor a calf because of the vaccines we're using, or less likely when we wean them that we're going to have to doctor a calf, and being able to do that. I think another big thing that we do is being able to turn our cattle out on in traps, or in smaller pastures that we can look at them. We can group cattle, knowing when to doctor and when to let one ride. That is the hardest thing someone will ever learn, is that, and we're still learning. It ain't that we know it all, but what works for us, we'll be getting cattle in, and it might be that we got to give them 7 days before we start doctoring, or being able to go in and be like, that calf is tired and has been through a ringer and he isn't sick, and there is a difference, and being able to see the difference, and or showing up and maybe there's 2 calves that died, or yearlings that you got in, or stalkers, whatever you want to call them. They died, and not at that moment being like a bazooka with the medicine and just go and doctor everything, and being able to see that, and doctoring only the sick ones, and having a vaccine program, having a mineral program, having a feed program, having our waters cleaned. That's a big deal. We if a tank gets empty, we're going to shovel it out and clean it. If there's moss in the tank, when we feed and we're waiting on cows to show up, we're going to be shoveling the moss out. Utilizing water lines and tanks that are already there, digging dirt tanks, or cleaning out dirt tanks so they'll hold, but the main thing is the care and looking after and seeing something wrong and fixing it, or not being too proud to not call somebody. Ryan McCollum is our vet, and getting in something and not being too proud and be like, hey, I don't know what's going on, but and him being Johnny on the spot, or calling you back, or a lot of people, if you leave Ryan a message, he's going to call you back, and just like when he shows up to your house, out of respect, he's not on the phone, he's talking to you. So when you leave him a message that night, if it's important, he'll text you maybe, or that night he'll call you back, and being able to go through issues, having a vet like that, pretty much on staff, kind of.
Any questions you got, he'll read his studies, where he went to school at, and studies that they did. He'll pull out all of his old notes and whatever it takes, And something else, being in back at the grow yard where we start calves, we have shared drinkers, so they're stainless steel drinkers. They get cleaned, especially with fresh calves. We try to get through once a week, and they're sharing fences with each other, so we get cattle in all the time, and no one setting a protocol, knowing when to reback, not rebacking early, not rebacking late, shoveling bunks. We kind of start them all out, like limit feeding them calves, just to keep them hungry where they're coming to the bunk, knowing that they're getting the medicated pellets, getting good alfalfa hay,
Being fed at the same time.
Not overfed, feeding the same time every day, feeding twice a day. Stuff like that.
7 days a week. There's been people that called and asked that they wanted a grow yard. I'm like, be careful what you wish for, because that's 7 days a week, no vacation. Let's say that you're going to go and do something like this podcast. Taylor had to get up at 4 this morning and feed everything, and then be ready at daylight if he sees something wrong, being able to, but putting in that time.
And that's where the unknown of, your margin on your calf really can go one way or another, because it's not if, but when you're going to have a load come in that you're like, well, that was not very fun. And then there's some you get in, you're like, that was too easy. What,
and you think you're the best in the world.
Yeah. And so
I think breaking cattle into smaller groups when you're getting them in, and hand feeding them, where you're going out there and you're walking through them and seeing the ones that's coming in slow and remembering that one, to where the next time you can evaluate, looking at your cattle twice a day whenever you're straightening them out.
When I'm feeding, I have a book, and I'll write notes on each one, like tag number 724, such and such, or doesn't look right today, and then the next time I go back, like, I'll know and be like, okay, that was
No
big deal,
surprises.
or- yeah.
So we do run tag numbers. And that is for a couple things. It has our name and a brand and a phone number. For one, that you can look at it and write down the number. Another, if one gets out, they can know whose it is and call you. I do think that that's another big thing. And when you get right down to it, it's cheap in the big scheme of things. Not being too proud that you think that you're not a cowboy because you have tags, or there's a lot of things that I think that we do like that. Because for one, when you're not smart like me, you need all the help you can get, or being able to write and get down notes. Or when we started the grow yard with Taylor, we had leased a yard and we talked. And one of the things was limit feeding. And a lot of people take limit feeding in different ways, but this is the way I'll explain that we limit feed and why we do it. Is that when you feed, you're saying, okay, there's a pen of 50 and they're going to eat, let's just say they weigh 500 pounds. And let's say that you want to feed them 3%. So you're going to feed them 15 pounds. Okay. But you're weaning them. And so you want to keep them hungry and you want them coming to the bunk to come eat. So we might start by like 7 pounds.
Yeah.
And then you go by the bunk and you look and they haven't ate nothing. So, or they're not hitting it hard. So you might do that a day or two. And then here in a minute, they're going to get hungry and they're coming to the bunk. And if you fed 15 pounds and you go up there and you look at the bunk, you're going to do a lot of shoveling. Yeah. And every day that you go over there, to do it right, you're going to have to shovel out all that extra feed. But the way we do it, it's a guess of how much you think they're going to eat. And then once you get that dialed in, okay, they ate, let's say, best case scenario, you feed them 10 pounds, they come the next day, the bunk's slick. Okay, so then you're like, okay, they ate 10 pounds, these cattle are ready to go. So you might feed them 11 pounds and you go and you feed them. And but the whole goal is when the feed truck comes by, they're getting up, coming to the feed. And the ones that aren't, there's something wrong. So, and then the ones up there at the line, most of the time ain't the sick ones. And if you only ran your operation to where you did that when you're getting cattle in, and you doctored or only paid attention to the last group that come in, and you wrote down them numbers, and every day you kept a tab on what numbers, and eventually you seen if they went up or down, and that would tell you all you needed to know. Yeah. And then you would know when to doctor them, what to doctor them with, and or like, let's say that I'm driving back and forth to the feed yard, and I'm driving and everything's eaten. So every morning when me and Taylor talk, I'm like, okay, what did this pen eat? What did this pen eat? Or he's telling me, hey, pen 1 ate good, pen 2, pen 4, they're not really eating that much. I'd be like, okay, how long have they been there? So we're going through that. Yeah. And then you can tell exactly what kind of wreck you're about to get in by what cattle are eating or not eating.
Yeah. And we've seen it, firsthand, like show up, there's feeding the bunk that there shouldn't be. And you're like, they backed way off. You're like, we better hold on a second, or like times that we thought, oh, these are 40 days weaned, we're ready to go to wheat, and they're fixing to break really hard,
But you can see that whenever, as you're feeding, and being able to know that or adjust. I mean, that's one of the major things that we use for like health on cattle. Yeah. In doing buying the right cattle.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
The cattle's only as good as the guy you buy it from. Yeah. And another saying, there's no new way to screw somebody or take advantage of someone. Yeah. It's not like you come up with this new. So you're buying cattle from someone. They're supposed to be working them, mass treating them, because you're getting a bunch in. So you're just having them do it on that end. And you get a set of cattle in, and day 2, cattle are dying, and you've had 20 loads in before that. And day 8 is the day you start doctoring. There's no new way to not give a set of cattle medicine to make the cattle cheaper. And learn, don't get mad, don't try to teach them. Just be like, that didn't work. And then just move over and find somebody. There is people out there that want your business. There's people out there that want to do a good job. There's no new way to, buy a set of number ones and then them cheaping them up by sending 15 1.5s. And then you get on the phone arguing the difference between a number 1 and a 1.5 with someone that they're the cattle seller that sees 500,000 head a year, and they're sitting here arguing with. But in the end, you caught them trying to take advantage of you. Yep. But just doing business with the right people, that's another huge thing to success in health, in what we do in our life. Our word means as much as a person that we buy it from.
Yeah.
What's a 1 versus a 1.5?
It would be like the quality of the calf, like a number 1. like a 1.5 would have more ear, be more Bramer influence, or everybody wants the best Angus or a black baldy, or maybe how much leather they got hanging off. And there's like a number one Okie. It just depends on where you're at. If you're going to buy cattle in South Texas, they're all going to have a little bit of Bramer influence, all going to have a little ear, all going to have a little. But you buy a number one and they show up with floppy-eared, quarter-eared Brangus, and you send them a video, and they're telling you that that's a South Texas number one, and you're like, no, that one's 40 cents or 50 cents cheaper than this one. Y'all guys said that this is a cup. Tell me what it is, and that's what we're going to buy, right? We're buying what you're explaining, and then when they get here, there's something else. But
Yep. Okay. That's what I figured. I just wanted to make sure. And then we talk about Bramer and all of that too. So that's your breeds, right? We love to talk about cattle breeds and
not that Bringers aren't good cattle, or that
just different.
It's just the way the world is that they've marketed Angus, and everybody wants, because of marketing. And marketing is a huge. It's all marketing.
Yep.
And somebody in the Angus Association, or a lot of people, there's been a lot of money put in marketing. There's been a lot of money put in genetics, and there's number one Brangus too. I don't want. We've made one of the best things that I've heard too is there's two types of cattle: cattle that make money and cattle that lose money.
Yeah.
And that don't be too proud to have a set of cattle that ain't the best looking ones in the world.
Yep.
If they're gonna make money.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And also, sometimes I don't think maybe people see like how many hands go into raising a good quality cattle. It's people at One Stop Feed, Clovis Vet Supply, Mesa Feed. They're supplying us with the right medicine, the right vaccines, the right medicated feed, making sure our liquid mixes are the same that we add into the ration. All these people, they have to do their job.
Trucks bring them fuel.
Yeah, fuel. We got mechanics working on road graders, loader,
Feed truck.
Yeah, whatever it is.
The shops in town keeping all of our flats going.
Tires, trailers.
Yep.
A lot of hands that go.
Yeah. Yep. To let us do what we do.
This might be a little bit off key, but in today's world, people love seeing people fail, and they love jumping on that.
Yeah.
And they love it whenever you're down. They love walking up and just kicking you right in the teeth. And we choose to do the other. And not that we haven't been part of that, or that we've caught ourselves. But when someone else does good, we want to see them do good. And a lot of the people that work for us and help us are people that have been down. And you're only as good as the people that work for you.
Yeah.
Like I have a cousin that had back surgery, and he couldn't work, but I knew he needed to get out and do something, right? And so I called him and I said, what is it going to take for you to come work 2 hours a day? And that was one of the best decisions we made. Yeah. And for him to be able to, he's a full-blown mechanic. And I just tell him, you work till you can't work no more and go home. If that's 4 hours a day, 2 hours a day, 1 hour a day. But when he shows up, he's thought all night on what he's going to do. He shows up and he does it. And when he's tired, he goes home. He doesn't cost $1,000 a week because he only works 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
And being able to see the value in people too, and then being able to help him and being able to show them Jesus and show them love, and being appreciative and making them their self-worth climb the ladder. And everybody that works for us, that's one of the key goals, is that, and we can turn this into like health of cattle, is that when they show up and their self-worth is higher, they're going to do that extra mile to help us. And having that personal conversation with them every day, or when you see them, and being like, hey, how was your weekend? How are you doing? And or being like, hey, there's a kid building fence and he's tying staves in. That's super special to me. has a spot in my heart and always will. But stopping and having that true conversation with them that no one else gives them.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, how are you? How was your night? Be like, oh, well, how do you show me how you're doing this? You know, and be like, and then seeing one thing that they're doing good and be like, good job. And be like, I appreciate you here. I'm glad that you're a part of this. Thank you. And and that guy or person or wife or kid are going to work 10 times harder. And they're going to call you whenever they see something or they're on their way home and they're like, there's a cow with the 2 legs hanging out and I don't think she's at her, you know, and then being like, okay, most people just drive on by and be like, that's their problem.
Not my
That's
problem.
the difference.
Yep. We live in a world that, like appreciation and just telling someone good job, you know, like, hey, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for you. And ultimately you believe in them and you give them something to believe in, that they want to work for you. Yeah. So
That equity in human relationships is huge. It's so important. I'm not perfect at all, but if anything, I strive to be better and want to be investing in humans. Absolutely. And caring about those and taking care of others and in a, you know, turn back around of you do that and then it works better for you, right? Like, you know, you get more with honey, right? And not that you should do it selfishly, but you can because you will get more out of it.
And something like when there is a problem, heading the problem off and having that tough conversation.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be mad. You don't have to tear someone down. This is one thing that we're really working on. And sitting down and like having, hey, this is what you're doing and it's not working. This is what we're expecting of you. We want you to, we appreciate you here. We like what you're, but every time you're seeing that, being able to stop, adjust and go again and not like turning your head, you know, and going the other way and then having to be so mad before you go talk to them. And then that never ends, right? But I think we're all a work in progress.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
We all learn from each other.
Yeah, the only person I'm good at fixing things with is my husband, and I think that's called arguing. But I don't know.
Right?
And fighting. I don't think everybody else enjoys that part of our relationship, but that's great. No, I love that investment in people. Tell me about a time where you made a sacrifice or overcame a challenge.
I feel like every day we make sacrifices. I mean, if we got to do stuff in Clovis, Luke's up at 3 or 4, Luke and Donna's up, they're coming to Clovis. Literally the next day, we're doing stuff here, so we're going to come this direction. I mean, we're literally from 7 days a week, from the sun up to after the sun. Yeah, before the sun comes up, after the sun goes down. And don't get me wrong, there are days that we don't have to do that, you know, or pick and choose what we do. But I mean, it's even the days that you're at night, you're inside. I mean, you're looking at where we could be better. What's the next move?
Taylor's got our spreadsheets out, and it's
Nice because I say then you're doing paperwork.
Yes.
I love a good spreadsheet.
Yeah. And I think too, like the markets that we're in right now are just insane. I mean, it's great that the cattle market's priced the way it is, but we're also in a time that the something that can drive the market doesn't even have to be a fundamental issue with the cattle market. Supply and demand's still there, but something gets said or there's potential world war or whatever it is, and you wake up and 4 days on the road, the boards limit down, and it's like, that's really scary. We're spending, like Luke said, triple the amount of investment that we were 3 years ago to make the same margin. We're not making more money. These high priced calves, which is great for cow calf, and that's why we've tried to diversify. And we buy old cows, calve them out, wean the calves, feed old kill cows. I mean, we just try to be in a little bit of everything. But I think day to day, it's just knowing where to be at and where to go. And
so I'd like to visit about some sacrifice. So my kids rodeo and they rope, and I wanted to talk a little bit just recently, sacrifice. So we work all day, and let's say that we want to rope, we got to work harder during the day so that we can rope. We have lights, so we might have to rope at night and get home late at night. Just recently, we went to Oklahoma City and to Guthrie, huge youth roping, probably the biggest in the world. We worked all week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday we get done at 4. Everybody, we have 3 feed pickups running all day long, and at 4 o'clock we get home. Joe, my son's 15. He's got all of his saddles loaded, trailer bedded, all of his stuff loaded. We get in here, we start loading. We leave at 4. We get to Oklahoma City at midnight. We finally find our stalls. We get everything. We find a spot to park. We're up at 7, ready to go. So we're up at 6, getting ready at 7. We're out on the trailer. Joe ropes all day long. And they probably had 600 teams that day. It started that morning. And at 8 o'clock that night, Joe was the 11th callback out of 320 teams in this particular roping. Joe ropes the steer by 2 feet, slips a leg, don't win no money. So we load up that night at 8 o'clock, pack up, get all of our horses. We go to Guthrie, an hour down the road or 40 minutes. We unpack. It's midnight by the time we eat, get everything done. We rope all day.
Get up 6 o'clock.
Get up at 6. All day we rope. Joe was 21st callback, ropes the steer by 2 feet, loses a feet for money.
And that was like 500 plus
500
teams.
plus teams. At 8 o'clock that night, we load up and we drive all night home. We get home Saturday morning at about 4:30. We lay in bed. At 7 o'clock in the morning, we're out feeding, 2 feed trucks running. We let Joe sleep in because he had prom. At about 10 o'clock, we get Joe up. Joe feeds all of the horses. Joe works, does all the stuff. Joe goes to prom, but it never misses a beat. A lot of people, they don't have to work on Wednesday, or they don't have to be rushed back, or
after 5 o'clock.
Yeah, or after 5 o'clock. Okay, another thing, we have a trucking company. We dispatch cattle trucks 24/7. I'm on call, and it's been like this for 20 years. However long.
Yeah.
And when the phone rings at 2 a.m, we answer it. If there's a problem, we take care of it. It doesn't matter where we're at on vacation. If we're in this podcast and this phone rings, I'm going to answer it.
She said what?
Yeah,
Vacation.
or that a sacrifice that we made is, but we said that's what we're going to do. This is the lifestyle that we want to live. I want my kids to be successful. I want them to have the opportunity to rope. I want them to know what hard work is. I want them to know when you set goals and that you can reach them, and that they love what we do as much as we do. And people ask, well, why do y'all do all that? It's like reality sets in every day at my house. It's the reality that my kids want to be successful in roping, or that we want to grow in our ranching. We want to drive new pickups. I want to be able to, if my son says that he wants to be a welder, that I'm able to help him and help him with his dreams, or work, or a friend gets knocked down and needs help, that I can show up and help them.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. How about you breaking those ribs?
Yeah.
Was that a good challenge to overcome?
A couple of years ago, we were getting cattle in, and
We're gathering them from
we're gathering them, and this horse had about 2 or 3 rides on him, and I was loping, and there was a Charolais calf that got up out of nowhere, and he bucked me off, and I broke some ribs, and about 2 hours later, I still couldn't catch my breath, and I stood up after he bucked me off, and Donna said I fell back down, and so she comes out there, and if I could have had the words to say call a helicopter, we would have called a helicopter. But I didn't have no air to say. So she takes me into town. They do x-rays, and I had a big old knot on the back.
It's a small town, so they had to send the x-rays off.
So they said, we'll call you tomorrow, but my advice to you is to stay at home. Okay. So the next morning we were testing bulls.
Yeah,
Taylor. And a bull turned around, and I told him, I said, all I can do is ride a horse. So I had a a wrap around me, and it, as tight as I could get it.
Oh, I got
Used
him
a bucket
to
to get on, and a bull flipped the horse on top of me, broke some more ribs, had black my eye and fat my lip.
Oh no.
And so right after that, the doctor called and said, "Mr. Cortese?" "Yep." And they said, "My advice to you is to stay in home. Big day for you is going to be to get up and sit on the couch." And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Do not do anything." All right. So we get off the phone, and
He didn't know about the second wreck.
no. So there's a third one. So about 3 or 4 days later, I got the horse stepped on a rattlesnake and bucked me off and broke every rib on this side. And I would breathe, and you could hear him crackling, crack, 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 crack. And so Donna was mad because, or frustrated because I was out working, but we were getting cattle in ready for wheat, and we had every trap full. And I told her, I said, "Come out here." I said, "Do you see any vehicles pulling in here and trailers and people to help us?" She said, "No." And I said, "This is our livelihood. This is all we got. It doesn't matter what happens. You're going to have to get up every day. And I guarantee you, you want to know what you got. Break every rib on your left side and get up and go gather 6 traps and have 1,000 fresh South Texas calves that you got to 40 a day." And, it got to where, it was all I could do to get the cattle gathered. And I would pull the 6 out, and the boys would, Taylor would come and help us, and we would sort them, or, then we used to shoot. But that was about all I had to get that done. It wasn't fun.
That's a sacrifice for sure.
Yeah.
That's quite a challenge. I guess kind of another challenging question, which I guess we're going too negative in a row. Sorry, but get some good stories out of the last one. What's one of the biggest challenges you face in your operation? That's a whole kind of.
I would say going back to markets, having enough capital to grow, but not grow too fast to where you're over leveraged. Like we're in a time now that 5 weights are costing $2,800 or whatever it is. You can't mess up and be okay, and it's not, we don't get a paycheck every Friday or every 2 weeks. That comes a few times a year,
So let's say that you do buy a $2,800 5 weight, and you're having to put a pasture bill or your typical feed bills or whatever it is, and that calf shows to lose $200 a head if you're going to feed them, or depending on what. So what people are having to do now, because if you're going to have a fruit basket, you're going to have fruit in it. That's what they think. So they're not doing any market strategic plan. I mean, so they're not, no protection. Okay. And the reason why is because they show to lose $200 a head. So they're betting on a come. Yeah. And we've done this. Oh yeah. And we're dumb enough, we'll probably do it again because we're in the cattle business. But so you go and you buy this animal, you do zero protection, and you're betting that the market's going to rally to get you out of this wreck that you're in, price-wise. And all you are is opening yourself up to lose $1,000 or $1,500 a head, because just like it went up, it can go down too.
Yeah.
There is so much risk right now. Used to, if you kept your death loss down and cattle gained, and you watched your P's and Q's, you could make it. Today, with the way this market moves, it can be devastating, and it can move $40 in 2 months or a month, just over what one person says, and you be sitting there and be in a good position, and then it blows way under your profit margins, and $40 on an 800 pounder is $320 a head. It on a calf that you only figured you were going to make $100 a head, or the board moves $8 in one day.
Yep.
That's $56 a head.
Yep.
You do that 3 days, you're at $150, and this is on a cat that you're only planning on making $100 on, or you're buying cattle and the market starts climbing, and there's so many ways, or there's a lot of strategies that you can go out there, hedging strategies, LRPs, but even then, an LRP is 22 cents. Right?
Yeah, they're getting more expensive.
Or to get a true hedge or
we trade options, sell futures, buy LRP. We try to diversify all of our risk management that we can, but also you can get into a point where you might over protect and you don't want to be hedged up 100%. And it's just things you got to think about every day.
But LRP is livestock risk protection, right?
Yep.
Like an insurance.
Yeah,
you're
insurance
guaranteeing
policy,
you get this price.
Yep.
Right.
all it is, basically all you're doing is saying, okay, the market's at, we'll use simple math, the market's at $4. I have bought my cattle with profit in them at $4, and I don't want to risk it, and I want to buy my position. So you're just buying a position in at $4, and then when the market goes down, they pay you, and you get less when you sell your cattle. When it goes up, you're paying them. So, and then when you sell your cattle, you're getting it back, but you're just breaking even on the $4 market.
Yep.
But there's so many other little things that you can risk on the up, you can risk on the down.
Yep.
You can protect a block.
Yep.
And Taylor does all of the risk management and is very, very intelligent on it.
And this might be a conversation for another day, but so that LRP is based off the index, the cash price. That's something else where we're at in New Mexico. That index that price doesn't necessarily reflect what an 800-pound steer in New Mexico is going to bring. It's a group of sale barns that come together and say, hey, over this week, this is what 800-pound steers brought. Like I said, conversation for a different day, but I think at some point there needs to be an index for the southern states, just because what's trading up in North Dakota and South Dakota, Montana, all of that, isn't necessarily what they're bringing down here. So we trade off this index with LRP, but if that index can also change $8 a day. So this whole time you're thinking you're getting 2 weeks out. Well, if cash prices go out the roof up north, and now all of a sudden the cash price is out of your LRP range, you're not going to take advantage of what that should have paid, and you still got to bring your calf to market here, or
what the 1 year it was during Christmas or what?
Yeah, and
was
it traded the other way.
And there was only just a few sales or not very many head.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to get paid, and it changed how many dollars? A significant amount.
Yeah.
And so we bought the premium, we did all of that, and then you get to the end and we're like, what do you think we're going to get? And then, we hit that. But I think also what a big thing is labor. If you look at why we're not bigger than we are, right? Why is it? It's because of labor. Why do we do what we do? It's because of labor. Why is it that when we ship, it might just be me and Taylor, or me and Donna and Taylor, or why is it that we use dogs to work cattle? It's because we can't get help. And when you have a dog and your dog does wrong, you can put him in the pickup. When you have a helper that you're paying $200 a day and they do wrong, you can't be like, hey, go sit in the pickup.
Yeah.
You still pay them.
Yeah, and you still got to pay them.
Yeah.
We were shipping a brownfield, and this is kind of when the dogs started, right? And it's for labor. So we shipped, and the cattle had been in this wheat field for 4 months, and we no longer unloaded, and they had ran like 5 through the fence. They had cattle roped, and we're like shipping. This is our payday, and they're like sitting there rope dragging, and I'm like,
Had to
what?
gather.
I'm like, well, what about the other 160? You roped 20, And I get home, and I told Donna, I was like, man, there's got to be an easier way.
For us, the less the better. It's just
Yeah.
like us. It works so much
Yeah,
better.
yeah, we can get anything done we need to.
But it's nothing for me and Taylor to go and pin 5 loads and 2 dogs.
Yeah.
Take them to the feed yard, sort them, turn out 4 more loads, and be done in 3 hours, or not very long, or it be our shipping day and have 3 people and 2 dogs and go in and get them shipped, and cattle walk in the pen or no problem. But and not to say that we don't have issues and that there's some cattle or but one of the biggest challenges I think is labor and getting people, especially as high as it's getting. If let's say $20 an hour,
Yeah.
that's $160 a day to $200 a day, and it doesn't take very many days like that. All of your profit's gone.
Yep.
Small profit margins. The higher cattle get, the higher the risk gets, and the shorter the profit margin.
Yep.
Another deal is banking. Having a banker that believes in you, having a banker that's willing to loan you the money. They have regulations, right? Just like everybody, but believe they don't have to loan you the money, but believing in you, getting you through the wrecks, the bad times to get to the good times, going in there and selling a dream and them okaying it, having enough equity, working, knowing what to go to the bank with. And that's one thing Taylor, with his background, we talk a lot, and we send things back and forth, or knowing how to read your tax stuff. Hey, it shows we lost this much money. What does that really mean? Well, let me dissect your tax form and be like, no, y'all, when you put all this together, it paints a picture, and this is a picture. But not knowing that and going to a banker and not being able to talk through that. And, that's a big deal, especially in today's markets.
Yeah.
You run, it doesn't take very many cattle to get into big numbers that are life changing. Yeah. That if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking of that as you guys were talking about it. We talk about the thin margins, and sometimes people see ranchers or farmers have this big life, but you don't understand that the big life comes with a big debt and big and tiny margins, right? The profit on top of that. And so that willingness and that courage to go and get a loan for millions of dollars sometimes, right? That's crazy, right?
Yep.
And it takes, like you said, it takes skill, it takes time. Also takes some courage and some trust, trust in your family, trusting your partners, trusting God, all of the things that is ever impressive to me that it takes, that people don't understand, that you got to just take the risk, right?
Yeah.
If you want the lifestyle, you have to take those first risks, and sometimes that's walking into a bank.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
And being wise, like putting your money back in. Like that's something we've tried to really do is, when we get a check, it goes back and it gets invested back in, and trying to like really build things too.
And when you're starting, everybody's trying to work and build their spot in the world. And, and you're having kids, and it is so hard to find the time and to do it all. And you see somebody that's, say, 50 or 60 or 40s, and that they've put all their time in, and, you don't see that they didn't take a day off for 20 years. Yeah. And then, to get the equity where you want to be, or, now, we're able to leave and go do something, because we want to enjoy our kids, but, there's 25 years of equity that we never spent. Donna drove an old wore out pickup, Crown Vic, that had 200,000 miles on, and drove back and forth to Clovis, and an '01 Ford that we put 350,000 miles on, and that we didn't have a pickup. My pickup was a semi that I was gone in for 20 years, or and then same way in the cattle business. You work and equity's a huge deal.
Yeah.
You work, the kids or the younger generation that are wanting to start, like, equity don't just show up at your doorstep. You got to go earn it and get it and work.
Yeah.
It's got to be something that you worked for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's something you're excited about in your operation right now? What's something that excites you? I think you guys have probably already talked about some things that you can tell are exciting, but what would you say?
Just the future growth of Cortese and Lee. The last few years we started breeding heifers. That's super exciting to get them in a condition ready to breed and breeding them. And we've kept bulls back from our cows. So there's just a lot of fun times. Yeah.
I think being so diverse and being able to hit a bunch of different markets and do a bunch of different things. For a lot of years, dreamed and worked, and then dreams coming true. Like, funny story, when we leased this ranch, we showed up and talked to them, and we leave. I tell Donna, there's no way. And about a week later, after we talked to him, he said, he calls me and says, I'm going to lease you my ranch. So that was like a dream come true. There's one thing that I always wanted. Not that my family didn't have ranches, but the only way that I see that we're ever going to get a ranch is we're either going to have to lease one or go buy one ourselves. And that's a dream that's been ours for a long time. Mm-hmm. But it was such a drain that whenever we moved here, we were here for about 4 or 5 months, and we still didn't have furniture in the house, and we had a little bitty card table
And a lawn chair.
and a lawn chair, and we had Amazon beds that we ordered, and man, they hurt. I couldn't sleep. And Donna says, Luke, I said, yeah. And she said, I think this is for real. This isn't a dream no more. Can I go buy furniture? And I said, yeah, I think so. She said, they're not going to take it away. And so, every morning I get up, I wake up in a dream every day. And it's something, there's a lot of nights that I'm so excited about the next day that I have a hard time going to sleep. And like, I am so pumped to get up and do what we love to do.
Yeah.
And I always tell people is that one thing that you can always say is that he got up every day and did what he loved to do. I mean, there's things every day that maybe not be as fun as others, but I love it, right? Being able to, we've raised bulls and watched them grow, leasing some bulls out now, helping other people. We feel like we got a really nice set of commercial cows, watching that breeding program.
Yep.
Weaning
our own
calves, and being able to see our own calves on grass and on wheat.
Beef. Eat our own
beef, grow our own beef.
Yeah.
Another thing that was super pumped, we had like a misfortune in the market, and we had a set of heifers that were on wheat that we weren't going to be able to get out of. We're going to lose a bunch of money. So we kept them, and the market would drop $7, and the guy we were trying to sell them to would drop 20 cents. And so we kept them, and I mean, this market kept going down, and the cattle were LRP'd. So on the way down, we're getting paid, and we're holding on, and we end up feeding them, and that we get paid on our LRP, and that was at the bottom of the trough, and the market started working its way back up. But every day after we didn't sell the cattle, the guy that we're selling to would call, like, laugh, I bet you wish you'd have sold them. And, we just keep our head down and keep working. But it was a very exciting time whenever we knew that we had cattle on feed in a feed yard, and that it was more exciting whenever the cattle were sold as fat cattle, and or we could go to the feed yard, drive around, and it was like we made it. We're here with we're not supposed to be able to do this, or we have 3 pens of cattle here, which isn't a lot, but it was plenty for us.
Yeah.
And knowing that we help feed the world with our product, that taking videos and pictures, and it ain't that we bragged or said anything. Between us, we were proud, and it was like a moment of being excited.
Well, just it had taken these years working together to find. It takes a lot of capital to have equity in your cattle at the feed yard. That now you're another 6, 7, 8 months out on getting paid for it. That we're not going to finance our cattle in the feed yard, and so to get to that point where, hey, we can sit back, have the money in the cattle there, be able to continue buying fresh calves coming in, trade cows, stuff like that, and just be able to expand. And
so one thing too, so we have a set of fall calvers and we have a set of spring calvers, and our fall calvers we run bulls on, spring calvers we run bulls on. So we're able to have our bulls turned out 6 months out of the year. And we're able to double use our bulls to where they're not just in one deal. So, if you look in your initial costs of running a ranch, one of them's bulls, especially, $10,000 or $12,000 a bull. So let's say that we can cut your bull cost in half, right? So now it only costs $5,000, because now you can breed 600 cows twice. Okay. And so then let's look at another deal. So because we don't have 1,200 cows, right? But we have fall and spring, we can have more bulls, and we can tighten our calving period, because when a cow comes in heat, there's more bulls there to breed them. But then we can also get a money coming in from leasing bulls. And so now our bull cost is cut in half. Plus, we're getting outside money to the ranch for leasing bulls to another ranch.
Yep.
And another deal is that we hit 2 markets. So our fall calvers hit a market, our spring calvers hit a market. We hit 2 kill cow markets. So whenever all of our open cows, they're going to hit 2 markets. It's one of the things that I'm most excited about is that you look at our operation. Taylor has a farm, right? He has the grow yard. He grows a lot of the feed. We're very, very, very diverse. There's we have a trucking company. We buy and sell hay. We buy and sell cattle. We have order buyers in 5 or 6 sell barns that we're buying cattle for people and selling at certain times of the year, and then we kind of have our spot or guys set up for when we need cattle, that we're not fighting as much. Or Taylor has a custom farming to where, he's able to have nicer tractors because he can keep them busy more times during the year. He's able, now that, as we're getting better now, to say that the price of grain or silage is lower. So he knows that we can feed that product through our cows and make more money.
Yep. And like I said before, just having more pieces to this puzzle that we've been trying to build for 10 years now. And just excited to see what comes of that and where it's headed.
It contacts.
Yeah, people.
Knowing that it's dry in Arizona, and knowing that they're selling cows in Arizona without pregging them because they're so weak. And so we'll buy cows in Arizona for, kill cow price. We get them in, they'll be like very, very weak. Nurse them, barely get them along. Once they're stout enough to go down the chute, preg them. 40% of them be bred. Tag them. They're wilder than wild. Put them, cut their horns off. Put them behind a hot wire in the pens and turn them out. Have dogs, people. We can manage them now. The cows that we kill, they break even, and then we're able to get into a cow that's going to have a calf for $1,500 when everyone else is paying $3,000.
Yeah.
But knowing that and seeing that, And everywhere in the world, it doesn't matter where you're at, there's a drought somewhere where they're selling cattle, or there's a misfortune somewhere. But being out there looking, and if you're spending all day with your head down staring at your phone, everything's just going to go right on by you around. Being able to look and pay attention and see and ask questions and learn from people, finding somebody knowledgeable and asking and just sitting there watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the realized dream is anybody can feel that, how much that means, right?
Yeah.
That you guys are getting to see your dreams, and that no one can take that away. That's like that gives me goosebumps, right?
Yeah.
How cool is that you've given yourself that, given your family that? That's really special. And the connections and the network are so important.
Right.
Like you said, not everybody wants to see you succeed, but some do.
Yeah.
And those ones you can learn from, and those ones you can emulate. I love that. So what's your favorite part of the work for day to day? What's like one favorite? And it could be just a current favorite too.
Currently, I like being outside and seeing all the babies.
Yeah.
That's my favorite right now.
Absolutely.
I like that no 2 days a week are the same, like,
The unknown.
yeah, you don't know. You might be working on a road grader one day, or we're going to be weaning our fall calves and branding our spring calves soon, getting fresh cattle in. But I think the dependency, like I said earlier, the responsibility of like, Luke trusts me enough, has faith in me to know, like, hey, he's going to make the right decisions, and I believe in what he's going to do. I think that's really important.
Yeah. Every day's fun. You're just taking the kids along. Now they're old enough. They're with us every single day.
Yeah, they get to be a part of it.
Our son loves to work.
Yeah.
He's 2, and he'll just say, work. Like he loves
Cute.
work. And so,
First words work.
yeah. And like Luke and Donna have definitely championed like us being family oriented, and like when I decided to stay home and be a stay-at-home mom with the kids, like they really valued that and like poured into us over that, and always encourage us to bring the kids, even though it's hard sometimes with the toddlers. As much as we can be out there, like they want us out there, and we definitely feel that and feel that it's genuine. And that mentorship is awesome, and like I can't wait for them to pour all the things that they poured into us into the kids, and like excited about the future. But just taking them along and joining in on Taylor, whatever, every single day is different, like he said. So it's like, but just getting to tag along and that's a lot of fun.
And isn't that like parenthood in general? It's harder when they're there, but it's better.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kid wanted to help me scrub a toilet yesterday. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. But instead I was like, okay, I'll turn on some music. Let's just have some fun. And she thought it was the coolest thing
best
ever.
thing ever. Yeah.
And I'm like, I hate this. But suddenly I have this new perspective. Of course, taking them along ranching is different than my toilet scrubbing, but still just including your kid and things is
And they love it.
Yeah,
They want
it's
to
worth
do
it.
what you want to do.
Yeah.
They don't need to be entertained. They can just join in on
Absolutely.
what you're doing.
Taking the extra time of teaching.
Yeah.
We've didn't take the time, and we're going and going and going, but stepping back and being like, okay, let's teach them, right? When we show back up, and Jordan's wanting to weld, so it's my job to teach him. I've shown him, but let me show you. This is how you do it. But now being like, okay, now let me teach you. There's a big difference. Or taking. That's one thing that we've always tried to do is be like, okay, why did the cattle do this, right? Okay, what can we do different to make them not do that? And being able to change and knowing when to change or how to change or be like, okay, the cattle beat you going around the end of the truck and that's what caused this. Okay, what are you going to do next time? Yeah. Right? Do we need to switch and put someone else up there that ain't going to let them run by you, by them, or does a four-wheeler need to be there? What do we need to do? But every opportunity is a chance to teach, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's through your failures that you learn the most.
And letting them, like trusting them to fail.
You got to fail. I mean, that's the only way. and learning from others failing. So one thing that I always tell my kids is that you can go out and go find and try to do something else, and you're going to have to fail, and it's going to cost you a lot of money, and you're going to have to sit there and find your spot, or you can do what we do, and we can learn from all of our failures and everyone else that we've seen fail, and we can the education that we have is I can tell people every day what to do or how we did it or what, but the education that we learned, I know why we don't do certain things, right?
Yeah.
And I can tell someone all day long, but until they've lived it, they don't know it. Yeah. But being able to look across a fence and being like, well, wow, that didn't work, and then putting it in your mind and adjusting your operation to that too. That's a different, I didn't go to college. I barely got out of high school. But one thing that I was always willing to learn and ask questions and find somebody to mentor me, or they might not even known they were mentoring me, but I was watching them and I found someone that was successful that I thought was successful, and I paid attention to what they did, and I just tried to do 1/10 of what they did or 1%, and then just kept working and being able to know that's what
Being humble enough to
ask the questions, find somebody and be like, hey, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Or a lot of people won't say much, but
Sometimes those are the ones that listen the hardest to, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yep.
That mentorship is a special part of the industry as well. I don't think you get that everywhere, right? You don't always get that. And I worked at a bank. I worked at an ag bank for a while. You've got great mentors, but then sometimes there's not the same mentorship that you can have in ranching and cattle industry. Okay, so you've already told a couple stories, but do you have any favorite story that you wanted to tell before we?
Right, so we were shipping cattle one time right outside of Portales, and me and Taylor and Donna, and I was on Donna's butt. Cattle weren't pinning right, and we were having heck, and I had been chewing her out, and
It was all my fault.
yeah, she couldn't do nothing right. She finally had enough, and she gets right up in my face. And anybody that knows Donna knows that she doesn't cuss or doesn't do anything.
Sweetest person.
And sweet, and she had her middle finger out and told me she was done. We were on our own, and she goes and sits in the pickup, and this was me and Taylor, it just kind of started. And he said, now what are we going to do? I said, well, I guess we're going to have to figure out how to get Donna back out here. I'm going to have to apologize so we can get these cattle pinned. But there's been a lot of days working cattle that I've had to learn how to say I'm sorry. And if I wanted to do it on my own, it was going to have to learn how to talk to women. And
Yeah.
Another story, kind of same thing, turning cattle out, and is whenever we didn't have a place to bring them in before, get them hot wire broke, and allegedly they were supposed to be hot wire broke coming over. So I don't know how many loads we turned out that day, 8 loads, it was crazy. And we turned out, and it was one of them mornings that nothing really, flat on the wheel corrals, trucks weren't there on time, didn't want to load in the truck, just whatever, trucks were late. And anyway, so we turn out on one field, get them, when they come 12 hours on the truck, it's like, they come off the truck like they were asleep and they just woke up and they're ready to go somewhere. And so it took us a minute, kind of got them calmed down, and we're like, all right, well, let's move to the next field. And so we go to the next field and get them turned out, and it's just a wreck. Cattle split where we got other people helping us, and it's just all we can do to manage, And next thing I know, I look up, and down the road, we turned out about, a mile kind of off in a draw, and I see the cattle we had just turned out trotting up the road, coming straight at us, and I'm like, this is about to be a long day. And we had cattle mixed in with other people's, but not that was fun, but I do love to see how much growth that we've had, how much smarter we are about when we turn cattle out, just everything that we've learned. And looking back now, it seemed like that was something really stressful, but now it's we know to just like that's part of it. You know, we're gonna figure it out and laugh about it. Just get around them and start over, whatever you got to do, and just finish the job. And
We had cattle turned out, I think it was on the same deal, and they had got away from us and got mixed in with the neighbor.
yeah,
And the neighbor was Sergeant wheat cattle turnout, man. And out of all of the people to mix cattle in, his wasn't the one. And
police.
we finally, he shows up and he chews us all out and makes us feel about 2 inches tall. We finally talk him into letting him let us come back tomorrow and
because
get him.
I mean, by that time it's plumb into the
Yeah,
afternoon.
and so we come back the next morning and he stood up on a hill with his binoculars and watched us get the cattle out and chewed Donna out on how dumb we were and we didn't know anything. But the same farmer, we had a steer in on him and they never called. And
Or on us.
no, we
Oh,
had
yeah.
and we had to go get him, and he was aggravated, and we actually had to pay him a pasture bill
On the one head.
on the one head. And me and Taylor talked, and I said, we can show him,
yeah.
how it's supposed to be done. So later on, I said, because in ranching, stuff happens.
Yeah.
And in ranching, so it wasn't long, a couple of years or a year later, he had cattle on us. And we went and got him out and put him back. Taylor
Yeah.
did, and helped him. We fixed the fence, and it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
But in agriculture, there's things that there's a guy used to tell me a list is a plan or a list of things that are going to go wrong,
Yeah.
and you just have to learn how to maneuver through it and figure it out.
Yep.
Absolutely. And treat people how you wish to be treated, right?
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
again back to that kindness and
Another time we were right outside of Portales, and we had 5 trucks come in, and we were unloading them, and the group just kept getting a little bigger and a little bigger, and they were fresh and hadn't seen a hot wire. And about the time that 5th truck unloaded, the cattle, we couldn't hold them, and they ran off. And
Joe's horse.
Joe's
Jumped
horse
in the water.
was in the water, and the water was hot and bucked him off.
The hot wire was in the water, so when his horse got
Got
a
a drink.
drink,
And
it shocked her, and she jumped in the water, bucked him off.
almost ran Donna over.
Yeah, I was at the pickup, or a ways from the pickup, and she was just like running blind. Came straight towards me, so I had to run. The cattle were running off.
Then at 4 o'clock, the truck showed up at 7, and at 4 o'clock that afternoon, we finally had all 450 head circled, and they were so tired they laid down, and they're like, "What are we gonna do?" I said, "We'll come back in the morning." And we come back the next morning, and there was 7 head in that pasture, and I'm like, we just fed every person in Portales. There is no way we're gonna get all these cattle. And they went 20 miles, a part of them did. But every day for the next month, we drove around and went through people's yards.
We found them all.
We
all
found
of them.
every single one of them. And that was a pretty wild
Yep.
time right there.
Learning experience.
Learning. Yeah.
anything that could go wrong did go wrong.
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I don't know. Luke tells me every day, just put your head down and work. And I think there's a lot, ultimately, give your life to Christ. That's the most important decision you can ever make. And have trust that God's going to take care of you. And every morning, we're in a group text, and Luke sends a verse. And I really do think starting your morning every day in the Word like that, being thankful for Him sending His Son to die on the cross for us, and knowing that, like Kayla said earlier, that none of this is ours to have, and it's a gift given. And starting your day off like that, and then like Luke said, just put your head down and work every day. You don't have to do something crazy. You don't have to worry about what everybody else is doing. Don't worry about what other people say about you. Just work hard.
Yeah. Die to self
Yeah.
and
Yep.
be humble and just work hard, have fun, enjoy life. That's
Yeah.
what I love about this group too, is everybody's laughing every day, having fun, and truly enjoying life. Like, even during the hard times, like, we're really, enjoying what we're doing and each other, and just making light of every situation. And like, I love the Teddy Roosevelt quote about, the man in the arena. If you haven't read that one, you've got to. But I know that, like, definitely when I was going to quit my salary job and Taylor's quitting his salary job, loan officer, like, and walking away from that to, like, go and all in on this, like, I know there was critics. A few people said some wild things to me that just, like, really made me laugh. But, and then there's just, too, you can feel that, like, for sure, like, this is what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
But, like, it's the man in the arena who counts, not the critic in the stands.
Yep.
And at best you triumph greatly, or at least if you miss, like, at least you dared to do something instead of knowing neither success nor defeat. To truly just be the doer, go out and do the things, go all in and believe in something and believe in each other. But
I think the life that we're here is temporary. Jesus is forever.
yeah,
And we're all able to do this because of him.
yeah,
There's a guy when I was younger, his name was Alan Joe Killo. He had a ranch. He's very successful. He ran cattle in the feed yard. And one of the things that he told me that always stuck to me was buy when people are selling and sell when people are buying.
yeah,
And I was young, and still to this day, what we do a lot of times have to do with it. And getting into that, let's say that the market's crashed, right? And let's say the market dropped from $3.70 to $3.20 or $3, and there's no end in sight. Every day it's going down. People are going to get scared and start selling, and about the time everybody's selling, that's when you get in and start buying.
Yeah.
And you don't be afraid. And then when it's up and everybody's buying, that's when you sell to them. And it took me a long time to figure that out, and still hadn't figured it out. But since then I've talked to some guys that run a lot of cattle, and they've said, we'll let this market shake up a little bit, and we'll get in and really get in.
But it takes growth too to get to that where you have the money, like,
Yeah, and maturity.
and
You never know what you're going to do until, like, you're really financially strapped, and you don't have no money to risk, and people will be like, why did he do that? Well, come live a life with us every day, and you'll see.
Yep.
You never know what you're going to do until you get in certain situations. But another thing that I think, being able to see a profit in something when you buy it, and only buy things with a profit in it. And that goes from anything that you do. So you're buying cows, you're buying calves, you're buying a new pickup, or a horse, or a road grader, a loader, anything that you buy, going in, you buy your profit in the front side. And knowing that, and not only buying it, but knowing the difference. You sit in the sell barn and a set of calves come in there, the second they come in if there's profit or not, and knowing and being able to step out and buy them. Another piece of advice, make money while you're sleeping, and make sure that it's you have people that are set in place that are making you money, or you have cows that when you sleep, they're having babies and they're making you money. And that you're not the only way you're making money is you're out there killing yourself, like you're driving a truck, or you're the one in the tractor every day, all day, and figure out a job or something that you can do that's going to make you money when you sleep. And then one thing that we always talk about is everything's negotiable. And it ain't that we're tacky, it ain't that we're hard on people or anything, but every single thing is negotiable, from your insurance to your fuel to
braces.
To braces. I got a braces story. So my son Joe, it was time for him to get braces, and they show up and they said like $6,800 for a set of braces. And so I told Donna, I said, call up there and ask them how much that we'll just pay for them up front. So she calls, and of course, the lady was rude and said no, and so she comes back, and Donna's like, this is stupid, they won't. And I said, you're talking to the wrong person. Call back up there, tell them we got cash, and what will they do? Because everyone else goes on a payment program or whatever it is, and you tell them we got $5,500 cash instead of $6,800, and so she did. And they said, we've never had this happen. I said, well, you've never dealt with Luke Cortese. And so they got her on the phone with the right person, and they did it. But even down to the braces are negotiable. Everything.
Yep.
You-
Freight, hay, feed.
freight, feed.
Your orthodontist listening is panicking. Nobody knows that. Nobody knows how much. It's $6,800, I swear.
Yeah. Or like, I mean, everybody's got to make a living, but there's a difference when you're able, and it wasn't that I had the money cash, and we probably had to use borrowed money, but in the end, it saved us $1,300.
Yeah.
And on them, on the other side, they were able to get everything up front.
Save them
And-
dealing with
Yep,
insurance.
and they didn't have to deal, and they had cash money in their hand that they could go, and maybe they went on a vacation, or there was
Yeah.
something in his mind that he could spend $5,500 on. And the way I looked at it is that was in 2 phone calls in 10 minutes, we made $1,300.
Yeah. And it
And
was
that-
good by you and them.
Yes, it
And
was
like
good
that's
for
how
both.
y'all are with
Yeah.
the wheat leases or
Yep.
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
you're always trying to do right by the yourselves and the farmer or whatever.
And like, don't ever get yourself in a position where you have to sell or you have to buy. And we might have a barn empty, and a farmer's getting to the end of the year and he's got to clean his barn out. And he calls me, he knows to call me, and he calls us, and we might buy all the bottom bells. And we feed them, and they feed just as good as them middle bells.
Yep.
Or he gets into a set of hay that might have got hot and tobacco brown, and I know that will feed as good as any.
Yep.
And it might not look the prettiest, but we'll feed it, and it's $40 a ton cheaper or $100 a ton cheaper, and that's where you make your money. And if you
Always
do
gotta
that
do it.
every day, and being able to see it
Yeah.
every day, you got to be able to will and deal, and
Yep. Yep. Always be willing to deal for sure.
you can never go broke making a profit.
Yeah.
That's another thing, is that don't have too much pride not to sell, or know,
Yep.
if there's a profit in it, somebody's offering, it might be time to take your profit and put it in something else.
Yep.
All great advice. What's something people might not know about you guys outside of ranching? That's kind of a silly one we snuck in there, but what's something else about you guys?
So for me, I guess this is kind of to deal with that, but like I didn't grow up around cattle like at all. I just grew up farming, and so there's opportunities for somebody that wants to work hard. Like if you want to get into raising cattle, there's opportunities. You got to work hard, find the right mentors like Luke. Everything I know about cattle comes from Luke mentoring me.
Or someone.
And yeah,
Yep.
and like even as far as like how to watch a cow, how to ride a horse right, how to rope, setting yourself up in the best positions to get one roped and dragging a trailer, where to be at in a branding pen, like all that I owe to Luke. I never knew any of that, and so some people that I talk to now, just think that that's what I grew up doing, but it's not. So I think it's something that hopefully encourages people that you don't have to be the smartest person in the room all the time. You just need to listen to what people have to say and truly respect what the mistakes, like Luke said, what other people have made, and learn from them.
Yeah.
And
Humility, seek out mentorship, like
Yeah.
even in your faith, like seek out people who've walked longer in that journey than you have, and like actually have somebody disciple you, and then you disciple other people, and ask questions. Like that's so big. People are, if you will ask questions and seek out that, there are so many people that are willing to help.
teach.
My hobbies are opening the roping chute.
Yeah.
That's what I do in my spare time.
Videoing.
Yeah.
Hopefully they got you a clicker at least now with your roping shoe. No.
Just old fashioned way.
That's okay.
Donna was an RN and spent a lot of years working as that.
Yeah.
She worked in the surgical floor. Tell 'em.
Quit. And it was to the point where we were either gonna have to hire somebody or we just quit and start doing paperwork and for the trucking part of it. So quit. And I'm glad we did. We all wanted to work together. And
Yeah.
So I don't know how long ago, but our lives were flipped completely upside down. Me and Donna, and we're as low as you could get. Like we had lots of issues going on, and we gave our lives to the Lord truly, and woke up every day on our hands and knees, and God showed up, huh? Yep. I had a horrible drug habit, and had about $1,000 a week I'd spend on drugs, and as far apart as you could be, me and Donna, and had spent many days awake and in a wreck. And that morning I got up and gave my life to the Lord, and He's put everything back together since that day. And me and Donna moved in with her mom, and we lived with her mom in a house, and we didn't have Mary Ann then, and we lived in a little bitty bedroom, and me and Donna and Jordan and Joe all lived together in this little room, and that's what put our life back together. We both focused on the Lord. We both we went to church. We never gave up. Anything worth working for is gonna be tough.
Yeah.
There was a lot of rough days, and a lot of people kicked me when I was down and did everything they possibly could to destroy us. And God's tougher, and God had a different plan for us. And but if you're down or you're having a hard time or things ain't going your way, I've been there. There's a lot of people that have been there. Most people ain't humble enough to share their story or too proud to say, hey, but I've been there, done that. Not proud of it, but I am proud where God has brought me and my family. And, for us to come from that to where we're at today is huge. And being able to keep following God and keep going through doors that you see get opened, and just every day's a good day, and every part of this adventure now we do together. And Donna quit I had come home, and Donna said she was gone. She had all she wanted. So I quit doing drugs and quit partying and quit drinking, and about a week later I said, you need to quit your job. And she said, what? And I said, yeah. I said, the only way this is going to work is you're going to have to. She's like, you mean to tell me that a week ago you quit doing drugs for 1 week and you come home and I'm going to quit? And I said, yeah, that's what God told me. You're going to quit your job, and this is what we're going to do. And we had Mary Ann, and I knew it was a girl the second that Donna said she was pregnant, and I knew she was going to have blonde hair. God showed me, and curly hair, and but putting your trust in the Lord and knowing that it's going to be all right, and like having that peace, even when the whole world's falling and caving down around you. God's greater than He can move any mountain. I should have had withdrawals like you wouldn't imagine, and I got down on my hands and knees, and God got me through every bit of it. God put our marriage back together, put our family back together, put the trucking together, the cattle together, this friendship together, the ranch that we got leased. My mother-in-law is the sweetest lady you ever seen. She was there through the whole thing, loved us. For someone to tell you that they loved you, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say it, but really mean it. And every day, like she told us, I love you, Luke. And I mean, it meant a lot to me. And but I tell people that they've prayed, and then I've lived with my mother-in-law for 6 or 8 years, and I knew that God's plan was for us to have a ranch, and you ain't ever prayed till you had to do that. And me and my mother-in-law never had a bad word, never. She's the most awesome lady you could ever imagine. But to be able to go through all of that, and that's a lot of people, nobody knows that. Like, but if most people are too busy to listen, and don't you think?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's pretty, yeah, and so special that even means even more hearing that you've realized this dream, right? That
Yep.
you guys are living this and building this and mentoring another couple to do it, and that's really special and a very long and hard road to walk, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing it for the podcast. What's so? Why do you do what you do? What makes you keep going?
I think just being able to bring a product to market that people are going to enjoy, and get to work with my hands every day, get to learn from Luke, get to learn from our mistakes, just get to deal with tons of different people all over the country, whether it's buying cattle, buying feed, whatever. I love getting to work. Honestly, I love working. Like, I don't ever feel like, I never wake up in the morning and be like, man, I don't really want to do this day. And, don't get me wrong. There's times that, like, things don't go your way or whatever. But I never have to wake up, like, dreading what I'm going to have to do that day. It's always exciting. We're always on to the next thing. I love it.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, enjoy it. Yep.
Yeah, I like just working with our family, working together with the partnership with our friends and with our kids and husband, and that's what I like.
Yep.
I think the never not failing. What drives you to do what you do? Every morning, get up and not fail. I hate failure. I love a challenge.
Yeah.
Every morning you get up, you're going to be challenged. There's a lot of things that you don't have in your control that's going to make you fail, but it's going to make you stronger. You might have a heifer calving that there ain't no way you're going to get the calf out, but the heifer makes it. Or every day it's something different.
Yep.
Doing what we love to do every day.
And that love for it is just kind of in you, right?
Yeah,
Even
sure.
if it's just
Yeah,
in you.
for sure.
Like you said, you didn't have to grow up in it necessarily, but it's in you now.
Yeah.
That's pretty special. Is there any kind of last thing that you'd like people to better understand about the beef industry? If you were talking to a consumer, they're listening we've got actually a consistent listener from Germany. We have consistent listeners from Phoenix and Dallas. I think I've seen some Chicago. So if they're sitting there and they don't know a thing about the beef industry, what's one more thing that you hope they know?
Just all the hard work that goes into raising, when they buy that hamburger meat at the grocery store, there's been so many people from start to finish involved in that. And it doesn't matter how big of an operation you are, how big of an operation you're not. It doesn't matter if it's blowing 80 mile an hour, snowing, whatever. They're out there. They're pulling calves. They're breaking ice. They don't take vacations. They don't get off at 5 o'clock. The amount of work that people put in to making this their livelihood, I don't think people really understand how much work and dedication that is. And, it's everything to everybody, so.
Yeah, and you're not just supporting the American rancher when you buy beef. You're supporting the truck drivers, the dispatchers, the vets, the feed supply,
The tire store, you guys
the
said.
tire store, the mechanics, and that's honestly probably scratching the surface. There's truly so much and so many people that, help that product along.
Yep. Yep.
Exactly.
Is there anything else you want to add to what you hope consumers know?
I think that there's a lot of people that go out and work and give it their all, and it's their life, and it's sink or swim. And there's been a lot of years or a lot of times that, we had cattle and misfortune hit, and we still gave it 100%, even though we were losing money,
And knew we were
and knew that this group of cattle is going to kick our butt, and that we were going to have to work for free for a year to get through it. But we didn't give up, and that ranchers have a bottom. They don't give up. They have no bottom, and they're going to do whatever it takes, and to produce a product that's a safe protein, the safest, best protein that there is. And not only that is that we believe in it. The product that we raise, we believe. There's been brainstorming, all of this work that somebody dreamed, and somebody's dream came true, providing you a product of something that's good to eat.
And to make it the best.
And make it the best and love it. And
it is the best.
we eat it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing you serve to your families, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Safe.
Wholesome.
We do everything we can to provide the best product that we can provide.
Yep.
Absolutely. I hope consumers know that as well.
Yep.
What advice would you give someone who wants to follow in your footsteps?
Good luck.
Yeah.
Just know that there's going to be good and bad.
Yeah.
Go with both and don't
Yeah.
give up.
What another saying that I say, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah. There's truth to that. Yeah.
But hard work still pays off.
Yeah,
If
good.
anywhere in today's world you put your head down and you work, you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to start at the bottom and work your way up.
Yeah.
That's the best. And to be honest, if let's say that I wanted to be a cutting horse trainer and it's crossed my mind, I would go and find a successful cutting horse trainer, and I would clean his pins, and I'd do whatever it took, and I'd work every single day as hard and harder than whoever was next to me. And it wouldn't be very long, I'd be his head trainer sitting right next to him, and he would invest time in me versus someone else.
Yep.
And I was a special ed student. I'm super dyslexic, but I'm a hard worker, and I don't give up. And that just because maybe you have challenges, it doesn't mean that you can't be successful, and that you get good at what you want to do. Figure out whatever it is that you want to do and go master that job and be good at it. And if I was going to hire somebody, and let's say that I'm running a big company, and that I'm in charge of hiring, I would rather have somebody that isn't as smart and that's willing to learn and will work and be the first one there and the last one to leave,
Yep.
be willing to sweep, clean the toilet, whatever it takes, versus someone that's had all the education in the world but is lazy and they think they're too good or they're not, because I ain't too good. The other day, another story, we were welding and rebuilding a ranch, and I was helping my son weld and putting in H-braces, and I grabbed the paintbrush and I was painting. That's the lowest job there. And I told my cousin that helps me, I said, I want Jordan to know that I ain't too good to paint, and neither should he. And he said, and it was a proud moment, he said, no. Jordan works. He'll paint just like everyone else. And that's the advice that I could give you, is that he might be the boss, but you show up and you do whatever job needs done, and you figure out wherever you got to be at, or don't be afraid to work.
Yep.
Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work.
Yep.
Absolutely. I think throughout the whole conversation, which this is the longest podcast we've done, it's really been fun and an honor to talk to you guys. And I mean, there's more of you, so of course it's going to take a while, which I again, am grateful for your time, but the themes of hard work, theme of humility, but those things, and then that mentorship, those are excellent things that I'm taking away from this conversation. So I appreciate that. So, okay, my last question, unless you guys have anything else you wanted to make sure and get out.
I got one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we have a little girl, and she's 9 years old, and she works, and she says, I tell her, I said, you go, girl. And boy, you can be working, and I can look at her, and I can say, you go, girl. And boy, she puts her hair up, and she goes to going. But since then, truck drivers will text me, or even cattle buyers, and they'll send me like a recap. And so it's like a joke. And they send it to me, and I text back, you go, girl. And they all, it's hilarious the way some people take it and some people can't take it. But don't be afraid to have fun.
Yeah.
Excellent advice.
Yep.
And still goes down to the positivity, right, of encouraging a young person, right? I told my kid this morning, she was helping her dad back the trailer up. And when I drove in, I told you guys I was on the phone. He was on speakerphone, and he said he was letting her back the trailer up and tell him before he hit something. And I was nervous. She's 4. What's he doing?
Yeah.
Girls need a dad. That's okay. So they're doing it. And then she got on the phone with me, and I said, well, are you proud of yourself? And she said, yeah. And I said, I'm proud of you too.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Either. Like
Yeah.
what Kayla said, is that you're better to do it and fail than to not do it.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and he was trusting. My husband was a great example of just trusting somebody to try.
Yeah.
Yep. A silly version, because thank goodness nothing got hit. But okay. Well, I appreciate that. So my last favorite question, what's your current favorite way to eat beef? It can just be a recipe you like right now, and then we might ask you to put it on the website if you're willing.
Oh my goodness.
Or just your favorite way. Could be the forever favorite too. But right now, one of my quick, easy recipes is a cheeseburger slider that you just make. It's just those silly Hawaiian rolls, ground beef, mayonnaise, cheese, and it's easy. It takes 30 minutes. There's no stress, little miss, and that's my favorite easy recipe right now.
You're up, Taylor.
Man, I don't know, a good ribeye steak, medium rare, that's hard to beat. We have some friends that make really good chili Colorado with beef instead of pork, and
They make the best food.
and that on top of like a thin ribeye steak. Oh man, that's hard to beat. Or a green chili cheeseburger. I don't know, it's all good.
All of it. I'd say my last supper would have to, or my last meal would have to include like some homemade red chili enchiladas. And if you get on kind of like closer to the border, like into another state, they start giving you red chili enchiladas that have like brown enchilada gravy. I'm talking homemade red chili sauce that we make
New
from
Mexico
scratch.
red chili.
Yes, we make it from scratch. It's amazing. My grandma's is the best. And if you're getting flat stacked enchiladas, so you fry your tortilla, put your ground beef, then put your sauce, cheese, and then layer that again with that beautiful, vibrant red chili, and with a fried egg on top.
Ooh.
And then a side of homemade Mexican rice, homemade refried beans, and a ribeye steak, big old juicy ribeye steak, cooked medium rare. Like somebody loves you a lot if they're serving you that, and that's probably that's my favorite for sure.
That's a great last meal.
Yeah.
That's a great
with
last meal.
with a Mexican Coke out of the glass bottle with
Ooh,
it.
all right. I think some New Mexicans are gonna love the comments on this one if this one makes it to social media.
I could go any of that. I would like green chili stew, fajitas.
Oh, green chili stew.
Like the green chili sauce or the red chili sauce, or either one of those two.
Like a ribeye steak is hard to beat.
Yep.
It's
Absolutely.
my favorite. We do a deal where we put mustard on the steak, and it holds the seasoning in.
Oh man.
Ooh, yeah.
We're gonna cook one here in a minute, so
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
you can be the judge.
Yeah,
and
judge.
Oh
tell.
man,
Yep,
dang.
we got them laid out,
yeah.
but
Yep.
that's on a grill or open fire. Hard to beat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It all sounds delicious. However you eat beef, we're happy you're eating beef, right? Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time, your kindness, your advice, your everything. It was an honor to be invited into your home and to get to talk to you guys, much less now put it on the internet for the world to hear. So thank you. And then thank you also for the important role you play in feeding the world. So I love beef. I love to eat, and I need people like you to make that happen, right? So personally and professionally.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys. Behind the Burger is produced by the New Mexico Beef Council to celebrate the people and stories behind New Mexico beef. Thanks for listening. Follow the show so you never miss an episode, and connect with us on social media for more behind-the-scenes stories and updates. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at NM Beef, and on Facebook at NM Beef Council. We'll see you next time, and until then, beef, it's what's for dinner.